And so then this also allows you to visualize other complex functions and then view them from different angles. Now, the advantage of a system like this is that the teacher and the student can interact with the object, and instead of being shoulder to shoulder and looking away from each other, they could be looking towards each other or in a central artifact, and that allows them to collaborate and work together. Okay, probably the most famous piece of work in AR is built on it's something built on top of a technology called ARQuake. And that was actually made by yes, you can download ARQuake. You can also download something called ARQuake Plus, and there's a number of variants out there now. There's commercial companies that actually have commercial products that are supported. Okay, then Mark Billinghurst, he did this out of Seattle. He's now at HIT Lab New Zealand. He came up with this concept of magic book. And so the idea here is you can have a physical book, which people like, and there's story and reading, and then you can put pictures in them. In this particular case, what you do is you have these pictures with these black squares. That's where these black squares all came from. So, but in this central view here, what you can do is the book can come alive. So not only can you have a picture there, but you can have animations in there. And so the idea that you read and you get animations to augment this is just an interesting concept for engaging people in reading, but also for textbooks, because it's very hard to show any sort of complex diagram, statically on a, well, not anyone, but you know what I mean. You can do more complex visualizations. And then if you want to, you can go inside this. It's really hard to see, but this view is actually a VR view. And so what you do is you flip a switch there on the handle of this opera glasses, and then you fly into the scene, and then you switch between a VR and an AR view. So this is a real nice combination of trying to fuse a number of different visualization together. Now, people ask, well, how expensive is this? Currently, you could probably build. The only thing special about this is this wand, and this wand you could probably put together in bulk for maybe $400 or $500. So they're not too expensive. Certainly, the same order of magnitude of a major peripheral for a gaming console. No, I haven't seen this AR Encyclopedia. I'll have to check that out. It's really embarrassing. People keep pointing out because the area is exploding, and I can't keep on top of all the sort of kind of the new developments. So then this is an older piece, and so one of the things that you can do is was done in Greece, and you can visualize how things used to be. So, and I think this is a great way to experience history. In the U.S., I used to live near Manassas Battlefield in Virginia, and I did the walking tour there, and the people were explaining to me how what Stonewall Jackson could see and why he put his gun emplacements here and things like this, and that the Union Army was coming up over top of this hill, and it just would be so great to kind of visualize that and see where it was, because I made a mental map of that in my brain, but if I could actually see that in situ at the battlefield, it'd be such a powerful cueing, and it would make the history come to life. And I'm not saying making a cheesy, documentary or something, but actually just, even if you did it with icons and things of that nature, I think it would help people to understand spatially where everything is. And in this particular case here, they wanted to see how do these buildings look and sometimes it's difficult to understand how big these buildings are if there's only just a little bit of it left. And so being able to look at it and walk around and look at it from different angles really does give you a better appreciation. So this is one of the more advanced museum pieces I've seen using handheld devices. They used it. It's interesting. They used this device here, which is called a Gizmondo. If you give me a couple of beers sometime, I'll tell you a story of the demise of the Gizmondo company. But they actually tried to make a handheld device that was AR easy, but they went they no longer exist. So, but the idea here is that you once again install these black and white markers next to museum pieces, and then you can annotate these with extra information. And what's nice about this is that except for these little tiny markers, and they're trying to figure out a way to get rid of the markers, you don't have to alter the pieces. So you don't have to touch them, and you don't have to, one of the things to worry about is you don't have to project against them, so you can control the light against them. And so projectors are not always the best thing to use in museum. Now what they did was, over here, there was a team, and so they made this little competition game where they go around and collect cues and have to do different activities. And the idea was to say, well, we'll take this really old, dusty museum and try to instill some life into it. And so let me clear this. Okay. So in this particular one here, what happened was this is an old organ, and so what the students would have to do is not only would they have to go and figure out how it worked, but this bellows is a virtual bellows that gets put there, and then they would have to pump it up and down. And if one person was pumping, because two people had to operate the organ, so one person has to pump it up and down, and then the other one has to play the organ. And it gives them a little bit better sense of the fact that it's a two-person operation to do this. Any questions so far? Yeah, it could work on iPads, iPhones. In fact, most of the stuff does. The system here is a pretty old system. That's why I'm saying that handhelds is maybe the first way that this gets done. Now, when I was at the Air and Space Museum in the U.S., they have these things where you SMS information and then they tell you a little audio file about something. So this is kind of the next step. So